And it's deux.
Deux.
Deux?
Deux.
D-E-U-X. Deux. Two. I know.
Okay.
You know how I know that? Because you counted down. That's how I know. Hi, everybody. Good to have you with us on this weird fall day, March day. Spring? It's March.
It is officially spring.
It is officially spring, yes, I'm aware of that, but it's still March. It poured rain last night, got up this morning, snow. We had snow on the ground. Now it's warming up and the snow is going away. And we're supposed to get a snowstorm on Monday. Tomorrow? I thought it was Monday.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
It's the last I saw.
So March came in like a lamb. I guess it's going to go out like a lion. So.
Nope. Sun.
Sun?
Sunday. Rain.
Rain on Sunday and a snowstorm on Monday.
Possibly snow on Monday, yeah.
10 to 15 centimeters.
5 to 6.
Well, the Weather Network says 10 to 15.
Weather Network.
Okay, so they changed the forecast yet again.
Just watch. The snow will be on Tuesday.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, we'll wake up and the car will be buried and, I hope everybody's having a great day. This one is shaping up to be a fun day. We're going to paint, we're going to play, and we're going to have some fun giveaways. Today's giveaways, I decided that today is going to be BAB Day. Anybody that's been in my live classes, like my actual in-person live classes, knows what a BAB is. It's a big-ass brush. And that's what we have for giveaways today. We have a set of 3 Dynasty Black Gold base coating brushes. And we have them in a variety of sizes, 1/2 inch, 3/4, and a big 1 1/4 inch. Nice big ass brush. So you can base coat big surfaces. So we have a set of 3 Dynasty Black Gold BABs. And we have some Tombow goodies. And, we just have a bunch of little goodies tucked in there. So we have 3 of those to give away for today. And we're going to be painting the second in the series, the Parfumerie Aux Fleurs. Numero 2. 2. Yeah. Renee asked me how I spelt 2. And I told him just a 2 was fine. So, yeah.
I asked you if the correct spelling of deux. D-E-U-X or D-U-E-X.
Yep. And that's when I told you that 2 would work just fine. Okay, it's been one of those mornings.
For those who know, no.
Yeah, for those who know, you know. I really hope that this day goes well. So if you guys are ready to get started, so am I. Oh, that's all I need is to start the day with a case of the giggles. So this is the one that we're painting today. This is the second in the series. This is a fun project. Last week we did the violets. We had some fun with a little bit of violets. And then I showed you a fun way to do these stripes. Just overall, just a fun project. I really like this one. This one has a slight color alteration. We're using a color called Gentle Heather for this one. It's a pinkish purple, a very soft, delicate purple. And we're going to distress it a little bit over top of this white. And then we're going to do a little bit of work on this bottle and make it a little transparent so that you can just vaguely see the daisies in behind. So that is our plan for today. We're going to have a little bit of fun with some really pretty colors. A nice stenciling technique, paint some daisies, and just in general have fun making this little decor piece. I really like these. I think they're very colorful and fun, and they're really not hard to paint. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is put a base coat on. In this case, I have 1 coat of warm white, and I've mixed it with a little bit of all-purpose sealer. And I've brushed it on so that I have vertical lines. in this surface, and then we're going to create those stripes. So I'm using a 1-inch painter's tape. And I'm going to line it up with the first stripe and then take the first stripe off. And this is my means of measuring it. Instead of marking off every 1 inch, I use my tape to do the job. Renee just went out of his way today to just get me laughing. And then the whole thing with the with saying how do you spell do? Oh, and I couldn't figure out why he needed to spell do when all he had to do was, just put a do there. I thought it was rather amusing. Apparently, because I laughed way too hard at that. So, little space. This is just such an easy way to do this spacing for this project. And I like the fact that it's not absolutely perfectly symmetrical. Like there's always one stripe that's not quite complete, like on this end. So there it is. And one more stripe. There we are. And so I can take that piece off. And I'm going to secure this tape nice and tight. I don't want it peeling or lifting. Now I gotta find my brayer. I misplaced my brayer. There it is. It was hiding. So I'm going to use my brayer just to make sure that that tape is down nice and firm. There we go. There we are. Now we're going to stencil these stripes with a little bit of gentle heather. This is such a pretty color. And this is such a fast and easy way to do this. So we're going to treat this tape like it's stenciled. So I'm going to load my stencil brush with gentle heather. Make sure you load it up really well. Circular fashion, change directions frequently. It'll give you a nice even distribution of color. And then you're going to just stencil, apply the color, just like you would with a stencil. Circular fashion, change directions. I am a happy girl. Faye, my darling Faye. I do laugh a lot. Mind you, I think that comes with living in this house. What is this? Lucy, what did you say about BAB? Zola's on. No, I did not forget to keep my tape for the line drawing. I have it. So, I can't see it. It went cruising by far too quickly. Who has a lost pet? Linda? Oh, and there's Miss Sheila. Hello. And Miss Faye. Miss Deb Bloomfield. And Janet Demon. I forgot to greet a bunch of people today. I'm so sorry. A big ass broad. Okay. I missed that one. Ann Cohens, hello. Good to have you with us. And Cindy Nizazon, hello. What's for dinner tonight? Debbie, you ask me every week. This week, I actually made some homemade tomato soup for supper. Tomato vegetable, I should say. Made veggie stock earlier in the week. Thought I'd put some of it to use. So we're having a little bit of that. And when I get done here today, I'm going to make some nice big biscuits or some homemade bread. One of the two. Haven't decided yet. So there we go. We have stripes. I'm going to grab my heat gun here. Mr. Patrick. Thank you, Mr. Patrick. I appreciate the SVG. Thank you. Ooh, Marjorie, have fun at the estate sale. Ham and lentil soup. Yummy. Yes, bro. Yeah, I was thinking I'd make homemade bread. I made some last weekend. I think I'll make some more this weekend because it was just so good. There we go. So just as I've said before, and I can't reiterate this enough because I see people panic when they go to take the tape off of designs because they worry about it peeling the paint off of their base coats. So I'm going to flip up my tape edges. So when you're removing tape, pull it at a 45-degree angle back onto itself like so, and do it slowly. Just like that. And that will help you keep those nice clean lines. You don't get any furring or any bleeding, and you also don't tear the edge of that fresh tape, and you don't end up pulling the paint off of the underneath. Did we get some snow? Yep, we did get a little bit of snow. Just a dusting. Well, I'm glad your husband enjoys my laughter, Sherman. There we go. And again, 45-degree angle, pull it back on itself, and look at how nice and clean those lines are. There's no furring. Now, whenever you're putting a base coat down, if it's going to be a fairly heavy application of color, like if I was brushing this on, I would use something to seal the edges of the tape or to activate the adhesive. And you can do that with water. You can do that with Joe Sonia. You can do that with a little bit of the base color if you want to. That will activate the edge of the tape so that it seals and you get a nice clean line. Because we're stenciling, just brayering it down, rubbing it or burnishing the tape in place will give you that nice clean line. If you have any doubts whatsoever, just take a damp brush and brush the edge of the tape, and it will work every single time. And you get these really nice clean lines. Crisp, clean, nice and smooth, makes for a really good looking finish. So we're going to distress this and smooth this out at the same time. So the lines are all running vertically, so that is how we're going to sand this, by running vertically. And you can be as aggressive as you like. If you prefer a softer look, or if you want it to look more distressed, you can be a little more aggressive with it. Whoops, dropped my sander. But again, if you want it light and subtle, there you go. Just a light pass. You don't have to work hard to do that. So we have a nice finish. I'm going to grab a shop towel and a little bit of water. We're just going to wipe this down just to take the dust off. And then that way we have a nice, smooth, clean surface that is ready to paint. So in case you haven't seen it, the pattern for next Saturday's class is up on the website. I had a lovely lady by the name of Robin Woods reached out and asked me about if I had a pattern with a very specific beachy look to it. And I said, I don't, but give me an idea of what you're looking for. Maybe I can put something together. So I ended up with this. She was really clear about what she wanted. And this was so much fun to paint. So she wanted this surface, and she wanted shells, and she wanted rope. And this one turned out, I'm really, really very happy with this one. I love the look of it. So this is next Saturday's class. We're going to do this one live. So if you want to paint along, you know where the pattern is. This one was so much fun. I thoroughly enjoyed doing this one. Besides, I love anything to do with the sea, the beach, you know. So our next step for this piece is pretty straightforward. We're going to put a nice float of heavily thinned asphaltum around the outside edge of this. I was sure I had asphaltum in my tray. There we go. There we are. So heavily thinned asphaltum, we're going to put a float of that all the way around the outside edge of our surface. Just like so. Doesn't have to be perfect. I know I say that a lot, but we're not really looking for a nice perfect outline or a nice perfect float, because we're going to be making this look distressed anyway. So, you know, those clean, delicate, precision floats are really not essential for this particular piece. Here we go. I'm trying to... Eddie likes this new one, does he? I'll do welcome in French for you if you like, Patrick. That's easy enough to do. There we go. So, go all the way around the outside edge. I love these wooden panels for this because they have a little, there's like a raw edge, and so that float of color catches in some of those little crevices, and it just adds to the old look a little bit. There we go. Alrighty. So now that I've got that shadow going around the outside edge, we're going to make this look a little more distressed. This thing is... Okay. So, got a nice distressed edge. Little edge. Oh my goodness. Deb Bloomfield, you are in rare form today. Okay. So we're going to put a sort of a chipped paint look around the outside edge. Now, ordinarily I do this with black, but this piece is a little more subtle. The colors don't call for black. Although I don't doubt that black would look okay, I think that a softer tone is a little bit better. So I'm going to use a little bit of Gray Storm. So I'm going to put this sort of chipped look around the outside edge, and I'm just going to do that with a round loaded with a little bit of Gray Storm, or Storm Gray. Which is it? Gray Storm. So we want it to look a little bit chippy around the outside edge. You can make it as wide or as narrow as you like. It can be as busy as you want or as subtle as you want. It's entirely up to you. And I just do it by rolling the brush and twist, push and pull so that I get that, slightly broken edge all the way around the outside edge. And I like a little extra in the corners. Just like that. Don't overthink it. Feeling chippy, are we? Yes, we are, Charmaine. Don't overthink it. Don't worry about it. If you get a big glob on, it's okay. Don't worry. It just ends up looking like chip paint anyway, so it doesn't matter. Give yourself a break. Just like so. So once you've finished this chippy paint look around the outside edge, you're going to let it dry. And then you're going to trace and transfer your line drawing on. Louise, how are you? So this is our base. Doesn't look like much at this stage, but there is your chipped paint edge. And I think, although black would work, I think the gray is a little bit more subtle. Now, to finish it, I will paint the edges the same color. And it just gives it a bit more substance and a little more visual weight to it. So, but I really like that little chipped edge. Now, once we highlight it, it really pops, but I really like the subtlety of this. So that is our background. It's a super simple one. The technique for putting those stripes in is just so much simpler than measuring and then trying to get everything perfectly straight. Using the tape as the 1-inch measure is just the easiest way to do this. And look at that result. Super simple. So through the magic of television, I prepped a piece ahead of time. I just wanted to get the line drawing on. So we have our border in place. We have the stripes on. We have that antiquing in. So we are ready to start the next step of this piece. And that is putting in all of those shadows in and around everything. I love this part because I get to use my favorite color. A little bit of asphaltum on my brush. And today I'm working with a black silver. This is a 1/2-inch angled shader. So I'm just going to check, make sure I've got this thinned properly. Yeah, it's okay. Maybe a little less. So we're going to put shadows on the right side of each letter and inside the curve of these letters, like so. It does not have to be perfect. We just need to get a shadow in there. And I think I just thinned my paint too much. Here we go. You don't want this paint full strength, but it should be a little darker than I had it. There we go. So that little float to the right side, just like so. That little float does wonders to make these letters stand out. We want them to stand up. We want these letters to pop off of that background. So we put that little shadow in, like so. Don't forget those little connecting lines where the two letters meet. You have to float that as well to get that nice lift. So just continue that until your letters are finished. The nice part about doing this first is that the lettering, once we paint the lettering, any little wobbles and bobbles in those floats where it's gone over the lettering will take care of themselves. They'll be cleaned up so that if they look a little much, they'll become a lot cleaner. There we go. And it also means that you can relax a little. You don't have to worry so much about whether or not those floats are perfectly in line. You don't have to worry about whether or not you're getting the color on top of the letter. It's just a little bit of relaxation. So super quick putting that in. You don't have to work hard. You don't have to get them perfect. So we're going to take that same float and we're going to put a shadow around and in front of our water bottle here. Our perfume bottle, sorry, water bottle. I'm looking at my water bottle as I said that. Good morning, Carrie Henderson. So I like a little shadow in here, in and around. Again, you put the shadow in. You don't have to worry about it. Remember, I'm just putting a little shadow. It makes a world of difference when you don't have to worry about whether or not it's going on top of your paint. You can still see everything through it. So, little shadow. Just like that. Get that shadow in and around our bottle. Again, look, I'm not worried about whether or not that float goes over top of the bottle because we're going to base coat the bottle, so it doesn't matter. Here we go. Sharon Wagner, hello dear. And Denise Chavez, hello sweetie. And Kay Reynolds, hello. And Donna Pulse. Yes, Donna, you painted with Sandy last weekend. I'm jealous that you got to spend time with Sandy, and I didn't. So we're going to, remember what I said about those little shadows. We're going to pop a little bit in. I like to have a shadow around things. There we go. So we've got a nice little shadow in and around our perfume bottle and underneath our daisies. Remember what I said? It doesn't have to be neat and tidy. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't. There we go. So look at that. It's just a quick and easy shadow. Look at that. Doesn't have to be perfect. Easy peasy. Hi, Terry. Good to have you with us. So I'm going to dry that really quick. Super easy. And then I'm going to show you how we're going to do this perfume bottle. But before we do the bottle, we need to do a couple of petals on these daisies, because these petals we want to be able to see through the bottle. So I'm going to put a little bit of warm white on my palette. And Sandy Jackson, hello. My favorite perfume, oh, Chance by Chanel. I also like Opium. Those are my two favorites. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of warm white. I'm going to thin this with a fair amount of either water or glaze. And you can see here, pick this up. We've got petals on this daisy in behind that bottle. So I'm going to stroke in those petals with a little bit of warm white. Just like that. There we go. So I've got that first 3 or 4 petals on our daisy done in warm white. And it's just a comma stroke. Don't overthink these. They're little daisies. So I want to get this first one done because we're going to have, this one is going to be in behind that bottle a little bit, and the one in front. So this one steps back a little from this one. So in order to see it through the bottle, we need to have those petals on first. Da-da-da. There we go. So we're going to be base coating our bottle with sea glass. If I can find it. Good heavens. How did I use a bottle of paint? There it is. Okay. I have a bottle of Obsession. I like that one too, but I love Chance by Chanel, and I love this new Opium. It's Opium Noir. It's black. Comes in a black bottle. It's just, oh, yummy. So, I've got a little bit of sea glass. I'm going to thin this out quite a bit. And we're going to put a coat of sea glass on our bottle. And by the way, when you thin out sea glass, it's actually fairly transparent. So, just so you know. I love this color. It's a unique shade of green. There we go. I like the idea of having the color but still being able to see through this glass. Now, and I'm also aware that this is not super realistic. Just saying. It wasn't intended to be. So I've painted right over, oh goodness. We're going to do the same thing to the top of the bottle. Da-da-da. It's funny how some perfumes smell beautiful on some people, and then on other people, the same perfume just is horrendous. I can wear Chance and I can wear Opium, but I can't wear certain other perfumes. And some other perfumes will set off my asthma. So it's hard to say a lot of the time. Been gay. A535. O to A535. Yeah. Okay, so I've got a pretty nice coat. It's fairly even. It's not perfect, but it's fairly even. Monica Lawrence, good to have you with us. Loves Baby Soft. Oh my goodness. Oh, yeah. So there we go. So it's faint, but I might strengthen that a little bit because it's not quite bright enough. I'm going to grab my round and a little bit more of that warm weight because I kind of lost my petals in there. There we go. They just got a little... So the petals on these flowers that are still visible or out from behind that bottle, going to get a little more opaque coverage, just a little. And I prefer a stroke than to just simply base coat each petal. There's something about doing the stroke. It pulls the texture. So any brush marks and whatnot fall into the flower. So each of those flowers is going to get that treatment. So we're going to stroke in petals. Like so. There we are. I think if I had to choose an absolute favorite flower, it would be a daisy. I've always loved wildflowers. And daisies are so simple and delicate and pretty. They do lovely things. There we go. Easy peasy. There's nothing wrong with a daisy. I even had daisies in my bridal bouquet. Mauve-colored roses and daisies. There we go. So we're going to base coat all of the leaves here. These little, I'm going to call them eucalyptus leaves because that's about as close to it as I can get. The color I'm going to use is aloe. I love this color. It was one of those meh colors, but it's so lovely when you pair it with some other colors. And this one makes great leaves. So we're going to use that same round and pick up a little bit of aloe. Now, these leaves are a simple teardrop shape, and we're just stroking them in. So you can see, I just press down on that round till it opens up and then twist it up onto the point so that we get a little teardrop shaped leaf, like so. Just like that. And we have a few of them, so we're going to take a little time to put them in. I like them stroked in. They just tend to look a little bit better. No bunny leaves, Judy. No bunny leaves. I will never live that down. Bunny leaves. What do you call them? Their ears, right? Skin So Soft by Avon. I love the smell of it. I'm horribly allergic to it. Still love the smell of it, though. There we go. Now, I've got a couple of little tiny leaves up here. I'm going to use a rigger to paint those. Yes, Maureen had a great deal. There we are. So all of the leaves have been base coated with that aloe. I know, it's such a delicate green. And it's in the same tonal family as the other colors that I've chosen. So I've mated these fairly effectively. If you look at all of these colors that I've chosen for this piece, they're all within that same tonal range. So I've got, a nice warm white. It's not a hard white or cool white. It's a nice warm white. So these are all of those base colors. These are all of my mid values. And then I have little touches of Bahama blue for the petals, the shading in the petals. The shading in the leaves, again, has that, see what I mean? It has that tonal range. So there's that sort of grayed out effect. And there is your shading color for the glass. And then for the centers of the flowers, I have this pretty yellow. This is baby duck and tea berry. And then that storm gray for the lettering. So I found colors that were all in the same tone. So they have that slightly grayed out effect. And then I went just one or two values brighter to do bring in all of the more saturated color. So, and that would be these ones, that beautiful teal mint and that baby duck, that rich yellow, and that tea berry to get the orange cast that we need for the center. So everything's within that same tonal range. And that's why these colors seem to work so well together. So in case anybody was ever wondering how I get the colors or how I choose the colors, that's generally how. I start with colors that are going to work together. These pinks and reds are going to work with the greens because they're all in that, they're complementary to each other. And then marrying colors that are all within the same tonal range. And so it gives everything that look that I'm looking for. And I just love this. I love this color combination. These soft muted greens. And I just love these tones. So we're going to take a little bit of that baby duck. And we're going to base the center of our flowers with a little bit of baby duck. And I just sort of pity-pat it in. I don't want it to be perfectly smooth. I kind of like that little bit of texture it creates when you just dab it in. Like so. Ah. So we have color in our yes, I do like these happy colors, Norma. So look at that. I love all these tones. I just think they're so pretty together. So we're going to start shading this bottle. And the color I chose to shade it with so that we have that nice bottly, that glass look. I chose this teal mint. I love this color with sea glass. Just like the way, oops. Just like the way it looks with this sea glass color. They're in the same family, so they work. Now, I'm going to pick up a little of that teal mint. Again, I like to thin the color so that I can do it in layers. I don't have to get it all right the first time. And I'm going to shade those angles in the glass with a float of that teal mint. I love this color. It's so pretty. And it's such an easy color to work with. There we go. Now, all of those lines that we put in, I'm going to put a shadow on either side of the neck of this bottle. There is that little piece of glass, those little lips on the bottle. We're going to put a little shadow in there, in between them, like so. And then underneath this little lip, we've got another, pardon me, another little shadow, like that. I like this. We're just creating a, what's the word? We're just creating a little bit of depth to our glass bottle. And so I'm making use of those lines that are inside. to create a little bit of texture on this glass. Just like so. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I kind of like these little irregularities in it. I prefer to see them so that they're not absolutely perfect. It just gives the bottle a little more interest and a little more depth and shape. Just like so. Now I'm going to thin that teal mint a little bit more because we're going to put a shadow on the left side of the bottle all the way down. And it's going to overlap all of the other shadings. So it's going to give the bottle a little more depth on the left side. So it looks a little darker on one side than it does on the other. And by doing that, it kind of mutes these other shadows a little bit. Just a little. There. This just gives you a whole bunch more room to maneuver. Now I'm going to bring a little shadow in along the bottom too, just a little bit. And so it looks kind of funky. And then we're going to start putting in highlights opposite those shadings. And this part's really fun. So we're going to switch to a smaller angle shader. I'm going to use a 3/8. If I can find one. There we go. And we're going to use a little bit of warm white. What ugly thing. What did I miss? After class, we can go splash on some Windsong, grab a few little kings, a bottle of Boone's Farm, light up. Oh my gosh. Well, older bottles always have flaws. Yes, I agree. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of warm white and blend it out. And we're going to go opposite some of these shadows with a little float of that warm white. We just want to make it appear a little shiny, I think. I like those little highlights. They just make the bottle look a little more interesting. Nice little float in there. These little floats just indicate where the light is passing through the glass. That's all it's doing. As I said, we are not creating a super realistic bottle. And I need to get my light around here. There we go. There we are. Little That'll float in there. Those little highlights that you put in there are just intended to make the glass look a little shiny. That's all. So we're not looking for perfection. So I'm going to grab a dry brush for the larger highlights in the center of the bottle and on the neck, etc. But I'm going to put a little highlight right here. Ooh, goodness, a little too much paint. Right there. I like the edges highlighted a little. None of these have to be perfect. Certainly more interesting this way. Little line. Remember those vertical bars? We're going to need a line there. I'm going to switch to a rigger. I want a fairly strong highlight across here. On those little bars at the neck. A little strong one there. Just going to use a little comma stroke and a little stroke of white in some of those areas just to get that light impact, that real sparkle in the bottle. That's what we want. But again, we are not looking for a super realistic bottle. I just think this is a fun way to paint a bottle. Here we go. We're still on this subject. Gee, your hair smells terrific. You guys are nuts. So I've got a little dry brush. This is a nice little dry brush or dome blender, scumbler, whatever you want to call it. These are really fun to work with. This is a Dynasty Black Silver. And I'm picking up just a little bit of warm white. And we're going to put a little highlight with that in the center part of this bottle. Of course, if I could mess it up, I will. Just a little dry brush in the center, like that, and in the middle of this bottle. I didn't want a big amount of white, but I did want it lighter. So there we go. I like it. Nice little highlight in the center of that bottle. There we go. And now we have to base coat some pearls. Evening in Paris. Little blue bottle. Evening in Paris. It was a very popular perfume in the 50s and the early 60s. My mother wore that very well. So I'm base coating my pearls with a little bit of warm white. I've already got a pretty decent shadow underneath them, so I'm not too worried about that. If you can find an original Evening in Paris bottle, they are worth a pretty penny. They are a collector's item. I was looking for bottle shapes when I was creating these, and that, oddly enough, was one of the perfumes that popped up in my search. It had such a pretty shape, almost a teardrop. It's a pretty shaped bottle with a silver cap. Evening in Paris. I remember that perfume. It's funny, sense of smell is one of the strongest memory triggers for humans. And I remember my mother's perfume because she wore Evening in Paris. But the one perfume that I think really strikes for me as far as memory goes was my grandmother. My grandmother very rarely wore perfume per se, but she used Chantilly lace. Her favorite soap, her favorite bath oil. What was the name of the dry brush? It's a Dynasty Black Silver. And I will show it to you. This is what it looks like. Nice little dome blender. Works like a hot damn for dry brushing. It's a natural bristle, so it's a little on the coarse side. It's great. I chose to do it this way because I stenciled them the last time. So I decided to paint them myself this time, just using a rigger. Ta-da! But it's the tracing them on using the stencil makes a world of difference because now you can paint it. And they stay round. So I'm going to dry all this, and then we're going to tackle the daisies, then we'll do the leaves, and then we'll finish out the pearls. I know, Becca, my grandmother did that. She always had powder. Yep. And then her perfume. No, Debbie, I don't, but it is available from the Brush Guys. And we do have the coupon code, Tracy M. The thing I like about these brushes, these black silver, they're a pretty decent brush for the price point. It's just crazy. I believe these ones are still under $3 a brush. And they're absolutely fantastic. Yeah, if you've got the original Evening in Paris bottles, they're worth a pretty penny. I saw some on eBay. They were, a couple of $100 for one with no label. So it was, yeah. The newer ones, if you can find them, I think like from the 1970s, if you can find them, the glass is actually painted to look blue, whereas the ones prior to that, the glass was blue. And that makes a big difference in their value. So we're going to tackle these little daisies. I love the daisies. They're so pretty. So, a little bit of Bahama Blue. I'm just laughing at this chat window. So, a little bit of Bahama Blue. We're going to use it in small amount, blend it out well. And we're going to shade close to the center on the petals, just like that. That little shadow in behind the center of the flower, just like so. It does not show up very well on camera, does it? And you can use that to separate the petals as well. But that's going to give us a nice base for what we're going to do next. I love me some Bahama blue. It's my favorite blue. On under these lights, I think it, especially on camera, it doesn't look that strong, but I'm trying very hard not to make it too strong because it is quite a dynamic color over top of this white. But there we go. So there's our shading in our flowers. And while we have that Bahama blue out, we're going to put a shadow on the left side of each of those pearls. And you're going to leave a small space, little teeny tiny space, just a sliver of white. Like so. That little sliver is going to make the difference in how this pearl looks more spherical and less like a round dot. It's going to give it a little bit more dimension. I like that little sliver. It makes a big difference. Yeah, I'm quite fond of these, not really pastels, but these softer muted tones. I really like them. I don't often do, I very rarely paint with pastels. I'm not a pastel person. But I really do love this combination. Ooh, daffodils would be pretty, wouldn't they? Or crocus, or iris, or lilac. Wouldn't lilac be pretty on one of these? So that little bit, that little float of Bahama blue on those pearls. So I'm going to rinse that out. I'm going to dry this real quick. Then we're going to use a little bit of heavily thinned asphaltum to deepen this shading. Makes the pearls more pearly. Good morning, Denise. So we're going to thin out some asphaltum and we're going to shade the pearl right over the blue, right over that little white sliver. Just like that. Comme ça. I'm going to do the same thing to these ones on this side. There we go. Now you can do this next step with a little bit of warm white, or you can use titanium white, either one. You're just going to put a little dot of a highlight on the upper right side of each of those pearls. And just come in from the edge slightly. Upper right. And it just gives you that nice look that you've got pearls. Et voila. Little pearls. I love the color of that bottle. Now, you can deepen these colors with a little float of asphaltum if you want to. You can do all kinds of fun things with it. I'm going to use a black gel pen on the bottle a little later on, but it's going to work. So that same asphaltum that we used on the pearls, we're going to use to deepen the float on our daisies. So wherever you put that Bahama blue, you're going to put a float of that heavily thinned asphaltum. And that's going to give our center a little more depth. Just like that. So now those centers pop up really nicely. And this is where we're going to grab a little of that tea berry. There's that tea berry. Now, the new color that they gave this year is this one, Coral Buzz. And I used this one in the seashell piece. I want you to see what it looks like over top of this yellow. So it has a vibrancy like you would not believe. This little bit of Coral Buzz. It's very close to the tea berry, but it's almost neon. It's so pretty. So a little bit of that Coral Buzz. Look at that. It has got oodles, teeny tiny bit of that color, and look at the fire you get out of it. So gorgeous. So if you don't have the tea berry, but you do have a bottle of that Coral Buzz, or you just want to try the Coral Buzz, highly recommend. Look at the fire that creates. Absolutely love this color. It's got chutzpah. Look at that. The centers of those just pop out. There we go. Love it. So if I dry that, and then I can come back in with a little bit of asphaltum, just a little bit thinned. The Coral Buzz, so pretty. Oh, by the way, that lemon color, the lemon yellow that they've got, this one here, this lemon burst, it's like that. It has that same pop. It's just amazing. So if you really want your yellows to come screaming off of there, you want that really hot yellow, this thing is just gorgeous. But that Coral Buzz is to die for. So I've got a little bit heavily thinned asphaltum. We're going to deepen that shadow at the front of our daisy. Love it. Love it. Love that Coral Buzz. It's such a great color. So we're going to use a little bit of this color. This is Thicket, a color that I don't use very often, and I really wonder why, because it's just such a great color. What's that?
Maisie's got a milk mustache.
She's got a milk mustache?
She had.
Oh, Dad gave her milk?
No, I gave her
You
milk.
gave her milk.
Dad's
Okay.
asleep.
So, a little bit of Thicket. This is such a unique color. It's not quite a green, not quite a gray. It has a little touch of teal in it. It is just yummy. And over top of that aloe, oh, gorgeous. So I'm going to shade into the point on these leaves with a little float of Thicket. It's surprisingly dark, very rich tone, and it works beautifully on top of that aloe. So I've spent the last few days playing with these new colors. I can make a couple of recommendations. That crimson red, put a base coat of the Coral Buzz down, and then paint over it with the crimson red. You're going to love what you get. You can do the same thing with tea berry. If you put this over top of tea berry, oh, so yummy. It just pops off of the background. It just pops. It's just fabulous red. And the other color that I'm kind of obsessed, I am very seriously obsessed with is this one, that dragon teal. Oh, yum. Such a gorgeous color. Try this over top of desert cactus. It's a little more blue than mermaid tail. A little more blue. And it just looks so fabulous. Over peacock teal. Any one of the teals, the stuff, Bahama blue. Oh, yum. It's fantastic. And then I'm also having the avocado toast. Such a great color for holly leaves. Oh my gosh. Just great. So I've been having a lot of fun playing with it. I've been throwing it into designs as I've been going because I really love playing with new colors. And I really like how they, particularly these ones, these newer tones, really pop some of the older ones. Some of these colors are almost like they've got a touch of neon added to them. They're just elevated a little bit, and it really works. And I love it when a color just pops, when it comes to life. And these ones really do. And that new red, that crimson red is just gorgeous. It's a sexy, sexy red. So I'm going to finish the shading on these leaves. I love this color, this thicket. It's one of those colors that sat in my paint cabinet forever and a day until one day I went, nope, that's not what I need. I need something with a little more teal. Remember, I'm trying to pair this with all of these other colors. And this thicket was just the perfect choice for this aloe. And it worked beautifully. Falls into this color palette really, really nicely. So a little darkening at the edges. Look at that. So pretty. Love it. So that color palette is really working very nicely. The purple that's in this new color choice, this new color line, lavender haze. I can't decide if it's more blue or more purple, but again, there's something, it's almost got a neon, like it almost glows. It's such a pretty, pretty color. Cream, sugar, and bay leaves. And then they've got that pink, that love potion. I can't, again, this one has got like that. There's something about these tones. They just have, there's the little energy to them that I really, really like. So I've been playing, that's what my goal has been of late, is I'm playing with all these new colors to see what I can and cannot do with them. It's my mission. So we're going to add a little bit of texture to the centers of these flowers. I like to use either asphaltum or a little bit of, a dark brown. Black tends to get a little heavy, and I'm avoiding using black in this one, except in very teeny tiny cases. So I'm going to use a little asphaltum, and we're going to add just a few tiny little dip dots along that highlighted side of each daisy, where we have that gorgeous coral buzz, gorgeous color. It's got such great amplitude. It pops right off of here. And I like to make sure that some of those little dip dots go out past the center and onto the petals a little bit. Easy peasy. And then we're going to use a little bit of warm white. The Love Potion is very transparent. Yeah, some of them are, I won't call them transparent, semi-transparent. And some are very transparent and some are quite opaque. So it depends. The Scarlet is very transparent, or not the Scarlet, the Crimson is quite transparent. You put that coral buzz underneath it and oh my gosh, it is such a great color. And it's so sexy. So we're going to highlight the tops of these flowers, just like so. A few little tiny little dip dots of white. And again, I like to come past the edge of the center out onto the petals, just a little. I like it, just adds a little texture to the center of the flower. That's all it does. So now comes the fun part. We're going to do a little highlighting on these leaves. Now you could use almost anything, but I'm going to show you something. I don't want this to be too garish. I don't want it to be too bright. I don't want to wash out these colors. So to highlight those leaves, I'm going to use a little bit of that sea glass that we used in the bottle. And it is a lovely color to highlight that aloe. And it's just a float at the tips of the petal, little C-shaped stroke. Nice soft float. Gives you a really nice, almost a frosted look at the edges of these leaves. Nice light touch. Make sure you blend them out really well so that you don't get a hard line of color. We want a nice soft float. And it just gives these leaves a delicate look. And delicate is important. We're working with colors that are soft and feminine. So you want to choose your colors accordingly. The other thing I like doing is I like moving colors around a piece. So if I use it in one place, I like it to pop up in another. There are a couple of exceptions, obviously, like the centers of the flowers, etc. But it's more in marrying colors together, bringing them in so that they all work together. So because we have white flowers, we have white pearls, I didn't want to use white for the edges of the leaves. I wanted to soften them without making them look white. And so I chose one of the greens that we're already using in this piece to highlight the leaves. And that was just a little bit of the base color for the perfume bottle. So look at that. So it gives us a nice soft look. I'm going to grab my liner, my extra long detail liner, if I can find it. And we're going to thin out a little bit of thicket. Here we go. And this is where we're going to connect our leaves. Just like that. I don't want these leaves to be too stiff, so I try to connect them very lightly with light lines. I don't like to use hard, harsh lines. So, hence the reason for the extra long detail liner. And there is our, oops, every once in a while I just mess up like I did there. There we are. So I'm going to dry this because if I don't, I'm going to smear one of those little dip dots. That's not, Iris, that's not necessarily a bad idea, using a numbering system to identify opaque and transparent colors. It's not a bad idea. I know at one of our recent meetings we were discussing something along that line, so I will be sure to bring that up at another meeting. So I've got some lines in there. I want to make sure everything is nice and dry. I'm going to use my black eraser to get rid of some graphite lines, because there's quite a few of them. And I like to get rid of them. There we go. Here we are. I don't like graphite lines, and I like to get rid of them when I can. So there we are. I got to be careful I don't take them off where I still need them, but so I'm going to grab my black gel pen. I'm using a 0.38. This is an ultra fine black gel pen. I do have one even finer. This is a 0.28. Very, very fine. I find this one is almost too sharp because it's so fine. It works best on paper. But I like the 0.38. And for this, I like to use my 0.38 to use that sketchy line around my daisies. You know, and some of those finer details on here. But again, if you prefer to not do this, I mean, you are in no way obligated to if you're not comfortable doing this. Not everybody is, and that's fine too. But I like the little details. I also find that it helps make the floral stand up, but it also creates a little bit of texture. Which appeals to me too. I like the little details, the fine little lines, the scribbly. I like the scribbly. And these are those last few things that you do before you start working on the lettering and all of the other little details that we put in. And I like this. It's fun. But I also recognize that not everybody enjoys doing this type of thing. Not everyone likes the more hard-edged version of this. So don't feel that because it's written in the pattern or you've watched me do it 100 times that you are required to do it, because you are not. You don't have to do it. But if you don't, then take a little time to make sure that, you know, the edges are clean and crisp on all your flowers. I like the less than perfect. That's my favorite of this. I think that's one of the reasons I like the pen, is because it kind of encourages you to not worry so much about the perfection of things. It does serve a purpose, however. I use the gel pen because it helps create sort of a softer appearance to all of this, less of a toll painted or decorative painted look and more of a painterly or artistic or a loose look, if you will. And that appeals to me on a lot of levels. I think the more relaxed approach works for me. I like how it looks. And it's just fun. Just fun. Do the same thing around some of your leaves. Again, you can do 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. You don't have to make them perfect.
How goes the creative chaos?
The creative chaos is going just fine. And you can do the same thing around, some of the details of the bottle. Again, you're not obligated to do this. If you don't care for it, that's fine. I'm not going to be, brought to sobs over it. What you doing?
I'm just...
Killing time?
No, I'm looking at our setup, and
It's
disconcerting.
disconcerting? Okay.
Or concerning.
Concerning?
I think it's concerning.
Okay.
Everything's working too smoothly
Wait.
lately. I don't like it.
Well, I'm pretty sure we could break something if it'll make you feel better.
No. If it works, it works.
Yeah,
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
this is true.
But at the same time,
Why is it all working too smoothly?
well, the last couple of weeks, it's been just
Tickety-boo.
ticky-boo. Everything worked. Everything...
Makes you nervous, doesn't it?
Yeah. I have to expect like the laptop to catch fire or something.
No. Don't say things like that. There we go. I love the sketchy thing. I just think it works for me.
You don't fit through that. She's gonna try.
Of course she is. It's Maze. Oh no, she's just laying there, moping. There we go. So that little sketchy bit, I love the sketchy bits. Just gives it that graphic look. Oh, you had a cappuccino? You drank it that fast? No, I don't come to your house and criticize. So, I just realized I forgot something. Remember the pearls? Look at those pearls down there. We're going to connect those with a little string because we can. And then I'm going to put a little string off to the side. Look at that. I just love this type of stuff. I have shoes on the go too. I have shoes. I have more flowers. I have seashells. I have a whole bunch of ideas and not enough time to paint them all. So our next step for this is to paint our lettering. And this part makes people nervous. And I'm not sure why. Well, actually, I am sure why, but I'm hoping I can make you feel less nervous about it. So I'm going to grab a number 2 rigger, and we're going to be working with this color, Gray Storm. So a little bit of Gray Storm, number 2 rigger, and a bunch of Jo Sonja Fast Dry Glaze. Going to thin this out because I don't want this color to be fully opaque. Ooh, goodness. Oh, Debbie wants a hummingbird. Oh, I think I can help you with that. Oh, my artistic dry spell has definitely abated. It has most definitely abated. I have too many ideas and not enough time at this point. So you're going to paint this lettering with one coat of Gray Storm, and it is going to look a little wishy-washy. It is going to look less than perfect. You're going to see some of the undercolor right through it. This lettering is not going to be completely opaque, and that's okay. Primarily because I don't want it to be. It's supposed to look a little worn. And if you went to all the trouble of base coating it fully opaque and solid, the lettering actually looks quite heavy and out of place, because the first one that I painted, I did that and I didn't like it. So I ended up sanding it down and painting over it. And then when I put it on the last time, this is what I did. I thinned out the color. It's still quite dark, but if I bring it up to the camera, you can see that it's not fully opaque. We're getting a little bit of opacity. Some of those undercolors are showing through. Linda, you'll get back to your painting when you're good and ready. One day you'll be sitting there and you'll just pick up a brush. I know this works for me. If I just sit down and pick up a brush, it doesn't always mean that I'm, sometimes it's just base coating stuff. Sometimes it's just, I've got a box and I'll paint it blue, or I'll paint it yellow. I have no idea what else I'm going to put on it, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going to paint it. Or I'll find something, at a jumble sale or secondhand store, what have you, and I'll do just that. I'll base coat it. Hi, Cindy. Better late than never, I always say. Yeah. And I really like this gray. It's a nice match for this color palette. Lucinda Aranda, I absolutely will make sure your name's on that wheel. Renee actually takes the... Oh, Debbie. Welcome. Renee takes the names right from the chat. So if you're in the chat, your name goes on the wheel. That's how it works. Yes. I agree, Gail. Hummingbird would be a pretty project. There we go. So we got our lettering. I'm going to use my extra long detail liner to connect all of these bits and pieces. Just like so. Oh, goodness. How did I mess that up? I'll tell you how I messed it up. I've got a bent hair on this brush, and it's been driving me bananas. Here we go. Et voila. There's always something when it comes to lettering, trying to find the right font to communicate what you want to communicate, to find the font that works. A lot of the time, how do I fix bent hairs on a brush? I boil some water, plunge it in and shape the brush, plunge it in and shape the brush. Because they're synthetic, you can do that. And that's, for me, has always been the easiest way to do it. In this particular case, with this brush, it is a broken hair. And so it's shorter than the rest. And when I pull a stroke with this, look, right there. There's a portion of the brush that is not the right length. Portion of it really broke off. So in order for me to fix that, I'd have to cut it off. So, and it's a fair chunk of hair. So if it was just bent, it wouldn't be a problem. But this one is actually broken. So I'm avoiding doing it because it's going to change my brush. So there we are. This font, there's something very girly about this particular font. It works really nicely for this, but it's also still a pretty easy font to read. I've seen some gorgeous fonts, but not all of them are easy to read, especially when, you might see it in a sentence. The quick brown fox might, jumps over the lazy dog, and it looks fine. But when you go to put it into something like this, it doesn't necessarily work, or it becomes difficult to read. And so I go through a lot of different fonts until I find a style that I think is going to work and also be easy to read. And it's a big issue when you're doing something like this because you have a limited amount of space in order to get the information on and to convey what you want to convey. How do I get my stencil brush super clean? Stencil brushes are notorious for collecting stuff up in here. The best way to take care of that is use a very good quality stencil brush. B, use a good quality brush cleaner. If I want them quick cleaned, say if I'm traveling or what have you, and I'm going to throw them back in the bin, and I don't have time to give them a serious deep clean, I use hand sanitizer. One, because it'll clean up a great deal of that paint, but it also breaks it up. I'll give it a quick clean with a hand sanitizer, but then when I get home, I'll give it a thorough cleaning with a little bit of Jack's Studio soap, which is my favorite brush cleaner. It works like a hot damn, that stuff. For any medium, whether it's watercolor, acrylic, doesn't matter. It works with everything. Kathy Krasowski, you have never had your name drawn in this. Oh my stars. So I'm going to dry this real quick, and we're going to finish this off a little bit. Gold lettering would be pretty in this too. I agree, Jen. So I've still got a couple of things I have to do with this lettering, and one of them is to distress it slightly. So I'm going to dry this well. Make sure everything is good and dry. And then I'm going to wear this down a little bit. So I'm going to use my ultra fine side of my sander. And I'm going to, remember, stripes run vertically, so does the paint. So I'm going to lightly sand my lettering. And I want to bring a little of that background color through. So a couple of things are going to happen to this. They're going to distress the lettering just a little. Some of those brush marks in the base coat are going to show through. There we go. I'm going to grab my shop towel and a little bit of water. Just a little. And we'll wipe some of that dust off. Like so. I love that. Just makes the lettering softer and a little diffused. And we're going to do a couple of things to finish this off, and we're going to stencil it because I can. It's my party. I'm going to use my cancellation stamps. I know that surprises you. So there is my cancellation stamp. I love this stencil. I'm going to move this one over here, I think. And I'm going to use a little bit of asphaltum. Don't need a lot. But we want the stencil brush to be almost dry. I'm going to come down here. I don't want this to be fully opaque. I don't want it to be strong, dark, or anything like that. So that's why I wanted the stencil brush to be almost dry. I kind of want it to just look a little bit dirty, if that makes any sense at all. There we go. See, it's not fully opaque. You can see right through it. That's what I like. What color would I recommend for a blue bottle? I would probably go with, I wanted my bottle blue, probably something like Whispering Turquoise. And then I would shade it with a deeper teal, maybe something like Open Water instead of a teal color like this. And I'm going to use this one over here. I'm going to come up a little bit. I like it higher. And it's a small portion. I don't really want to have a whole postage stamp up there. Just want a small portion. Look at that. And then we only have one little thing left to do to this. Well, two little things. We need to put a highlight on the chipped look around the outside edge. And then we need to spatter it a little bit. I'm a fan of the spatter thing. So I'm going to put a little bit of warm white on my palette because I like the idea of warm white for this piece. It just keeps it from looking heavy. So a little bit of warm white. I've got a little bit of asphaltum because it needs a little asphaltum. And then you can use either a white Posca pen or a white gel pen. Either one will work just fine. I think I'm going to use a gel pen this time because I can and it's my party. So I like that little white line along the edge of that gray paint. And it doesn't have to be a solid line. It can be broken. But I really like this little highlight at the edge of that. It just makes that paper pop out. Just like that. And it's a super easy way to highlight it. Now, if you don't have a gel pen and you don't have a Posca pen, just use a liner brush. little bit of thinned warm white to do this will work just fine. But I just like the way this looks. I think it's pretty. It creates a nice texture at the edge of this piece. Now to finish the edges of this, I would use and will use a bit of that gray storm, that gray color that we used for the chipped paint, to paint the edges of this panel. If you're working on canvas, when you do your base coats, you can base coat the whole canvas with the gray and then put the white over top of it. Or you can just make sure that you base the edges before you paint. So either way, there are so many different ways that you can do this. But that little bit of gray on the edges of the panel down here, it just gives this a nice little bit of weight. And see the continuity? Now it looks like it's paper stuck on the front of that. I just like how that looks. And it gives it a nice finish. Now, you can have these two pieces hang together, or you could have them separate on different walls. I think they work really well together. The fun part about this is that if you chose a purple for this background stripe, you don't have to change any of the colors in this, because this is the only place that the purple is used. So you could make this a blue, you could make this a yellow, you could make it whatever you want. My only suggestion is find one that's in the same tonal range as the one that I chose. That's the only thing. Can you varnish over top of the white gel pen? Yes, but there is a caveat to that. You have to seal it first, and I usually seal everything with 1 or 2 light coats of Decor matte spray. You can use a water-based polyurethane, a spray one. You can use any kind of setting spray to seal it, and then let it dry really, really well before you varnish. I've never had it run, but that's not to say that it wouldn't. But I also spray everything, so that's just my habit. Because I use so many different medias, that's just spraying it just makes it safer. That way I don't run into any issues. So the last thing we're going to do is to spatter this. I'm going to grab my fugly brush, and Renee is going to
get things ready.
He's getting the wheel ready. So I'm going to use a little bit of heavily thinned asphaltum. I don't want this like black dots everywhere, so I'm going to use it sparingly. Hi, Mace. And lightly spatter the surface. Bottle included. I just don't want to have a ton of it, that's all. And I don't want it super dark, but a little spatter of asphaltum. And then we're going to do the same thing with a little bit of thinned warm white. Just like this. And I do like the warm white. You can be as heavy-handed with this as you want. I just like it. I like that it gives it a sort of, adds to that distressed look, but it doesn't make it look too heavy or too dark. So there we go. So a little bit of spatter. I'm going to dry it so that we don't have it everywhere. And I don't smear anything. Yes, Deanna, I spray it first, let it dry, and then I varnish. I use Decor's Ultra Matte Varnish, and I use the matte spray. I prefer a matte finish when it comes to a lot of these. There we are.
She's tired.
Yeah, took her for a good run?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had an audience.
Oh, did she?
A bunch of kids at the playground.
Oh, yeah.
Watching her chase the ball.
So, gray edge. This is why I like to match the sides to that whatever chipped paint I've put on, is because of this. So now when you look at it, it looks more like paper glued onto the front of this. It just has that look like it's a dimensional and an add-on. I like it.
It's almost time to retire that fugly brush.
You think? I think I better order some new brushes. Just for me. They get worn out. I didn't realize how many brushes I go through in a year. There we go. So I like how it looks like it's, something's been adhered to this. So there we go. Renee's got the wheel ready, methinks. Okay, so just to bring you up to date, we have 3 giveaways today. The theme of our giveaway today is BAB, which means Big As Brush. And there are a set of 3 Dynasty Black Gold base coating brushes in there, a 1/2 inch, 3/4, and an 1 1/4 inch. Nice.
With 3 Zs?
3 Zs, yeah, Big As Brush. And, of course, that can't be the only thing we put in there. So we've got some goodies from Tombow in there. And, of course, we've always got goodies from Renee and I as well. So we've got a fun little package full of goodies for you today. You ready to spin the wheel?
Oh, you're just...
I'm just putzing, finishing up.
No. Give me a second.
Can I show? The girls want to see the piece from last week with this one.
Oh.
What?
I might not be here Saturday.
Okay.
Just to give you a heads up.
Okay. Set me up the night before. That's all I gotta say.
We can do that.
So here is the one we've done today. I guess set that aside so it's dry. This is the pink one. And this is the purple one. So if you wanted to, you could make these colors match. That would not be an issue at all. How do I decide how big to make the writing on my piece? I don't, how do I put this? For me, the writing is part of the original design. So when I'm creating something, I take my design element first, and then I choose my lettering so that it uses up about roughly the same amount of visual space. So sometimes I will put the lettering on 3 different times until I get just the right size so that it's in balance with everything. So there we go. As I said, those stripes can be interchangeable. You can make them whatever color you like. They can be blue, yellow, pink, purple. Just make sure that they match the rest of the color palette and tonal value. That's the most important thing. So, pretty piece. Awesome sauce. So Renee's got the wheel all loaded up. Everybody cross fingers, cross toes, and he's going to spin it.
Win yourself a big ass brush.
A set of them.
Set of big ass brushes.
Yep. There's lots of names on that wheel today.
There's a few hundred. First name is?
Charlene Stevenson. My goodness.
Yeah. Charlene Stevenson.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And the next one is Judy Ann.
Judy Ann. And who?
I don't know. So, ladies, if your name pops up on the screen, make sure that you go over to the website, click on the little speech bubble on the lower right-hand corner of the home screen, and send us your shipping information so that we can get your goodies out to you as soon as possible. If it is not claimed or if we don't get your shipping information within 2 weeks, it goes back in the bin and we use it for a future giveaway. And the last one goes to Joyce Victor.
Yay.
I do have to say thank you.
Let me get Tracy in here.
I got a lovely card this week. Thank you so much. I was tucked in with a bunch of tracing paper, graphite paper. Can't thank you enough. I was so grateful to get that. I love the older stuff, and it was such a nice thing. Very thoughtful of you. Thank you so much. And what is the next project? Oh, we're going to have so much fun. We're going with a beachy theme. This is our project for next week. Next Saturday, we're doing seashells. This one is called Beach House Welcome. So come and join us. We're going to have a lot of fun with this one. There's oodles of techniques in this one. I'll show you how to paint a rope. And I've got a really fun and easy way to paint these more realistic looking seashells and a fun way to paint a starfish. We're going to use some of the new colors and just in general have a really great time. So come and join us next Saturday. Same bat channel as always. And in the meantime, everybody stay safe. We love ya. Mwah.
Pet the dog.
And pet your dog. We'll see you again next week. Oh, he started something now.
Ow.
Ow, yeah. Now she's going to eat you.
Why must you eat me? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Do the thing.
Do the thing. Bye.
Bye.